Now let's get to... Ben Shapiro's new movie. Ben Shapiro and the Daily Wire have produced a brand new feature film. Jake and I will maybe have to review it at some point. So let's see what Ben has to say about the new movie they made.
Folks, on Friday, we did something really cool here at Daily Wire. We released our first major motion picture, Run, Hide, Fight. It stars Isabel May and Thomas Jane. It is an edge-of-your-seat thriller. It's awesome. It's R-rated, edgy, gritty, complex, exciting. It's the stuff that you want in a movie. You would watch it whether you're conservative or not conservative. And we've had amazing engagement. People are loving the film. For those of you who have...
People are loving the film. 22% on Rotten Tomatoes, for the record. 22%. Nailing it, Ben.
Watched and posted about it. I've really enjoyed seeing your comments and reactions. Our brand is building, and we are so excited to have new members in the Daily Wire community. We cannot wait to make more entertainment, like Run, Hide, Fight. So here's the question that we've been getting a lot from left, right, and center. Why are a bunch of folks who create podcasts and internet news releasing an action-packed thrill ride of a movie? Well, the answer is because we are in the middle of a culture war. Okay, the fact of the matter is that the culture is dominated by the left, all the cultural institutions. And it's not just that Hollywood is dominated by the left, it's that their content caters almost solely to the left. You'll have a tentpole flick every so often that really brings in the big bucks, but most of their low-level content is replete with leftist messaging. And
it's because people on the left are the people who tend to be creative people who pioneer new ideas. It's kind of part of being progressive, is trying to break new ground and, like, tell creative new stories, whereas people on the right, all they know how to do is, like, copy things. For instance, this movie that Ben Shapiro made called, like, Run, Hide, Fight is basically Die Hard, but it takes place in a school during a school shooting. So, that's not good.
The reality, again, is that the critics help exacerbate this problem. If you check out the gap on Rotten Tomatoes between what the critics think and what the audience thinks, it's often quite wide, and usually where the movies are most political. So you need an alternative. You need a place to go where you can see entertainment that is not going to deliberately offend your values, where you can see a movie that is actually going to side...
Ben's values that are offended being, I don't want gay people to exist.
...with you and against a lot of left-wing tropes about the United States. The gap has been emerging in real time between Hollywood and the rest of the United States. Hollywood made Atomic Blonde, which was an attempt to respond to James Bond by basically just making James Bond a woman. Very often, the critics are just...
But isn't your new movie just like Die Hard, but with a high school girl? It's the same thing.
...judging movies almost solely based on politics. Good example, the Jordan Peele movie Us. Now, the movie is, like, okay. It's not a great movie.
I liked Us a lot. I'm like one of the few people who actually really liked Us and liked it more than Get Out. I don't know why. I just was really into it.
Certainly not as good as Get Out, but they decided universally that it was very important for you to watch it because it had super important messages. So all the reviews said things like, while the movie doesn't meet the high standards of Get Out, it's also a super duper important movie that you must see. All of America must see this movie. Why? Well, because of the messages of Us, which is all about income inequality and racial inequality and all of Jordan Peele's usual sort of leftist messages. You see,
leftist messages like, please don't treat black people like shit.
The same thing even with movies like Wonder Woman 1984. When Wonder Woman 1984 came out, audiences basically looked at it and went, this is not good. Except for the critics. We're like, you know what? Sure, it's not a really good movie, but it's so feminist. It's filled.
Let me see what the... Hold on. Oh, God. There's a movie theater near me. So it's a little bit away, but not in my direct town, but it's, like, open. Oh, no. Wonder Woman 1984 only has a 5.5 on IMDb. What's the... There we go. It only has a 60% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's not doing well. What are you talking about?
With just amazing girl power ideals. Okay, the fact is that Hollywood is constantly making entertainment that is designed to not only oppose your principles, but then they're praising it to the skies, and they do something...
Wait, is Ben Shapiro's principle that women shouldn't be empowered? Did he just implicitly imply that his principles are against women having agency?
else too. They do something else too that's worthy of note. If you don't like their movies, then the problem is you. It is not Hollywood. You are now toxic fandom. So if you watched Star Wars The Last Jedi and you thought that Rose was a super boring character, because, let's face it, Rose is a super boring character, or if you thought Last Jedi is just not a very good film, it was because you were a toxic fan who could not handle the...
Not necessarily, but a lot of the criticisms that were a part of that, some of it had a hand in, like, I don't like Rey, and I think she's a Mary Sue, and a bunch of stuff like that. There are problems with The Last Jedi. I like it. I think Last Jedi is, like, one of my favorite Star Wars movies, but I understand why people don't like it. However, I think it's pretty ignorant to say that, and I would imagine if you're honestly of the opinion that none of the criticism of The Last Jedi came out of, like, some Chud spaces, I don't think you've actually looked at some of the online criticism. Does that make it a great movie just because it was criticized by Chuds? No, if you don't like Last Jedi, that's perfectly fine. But a certain segment of the Star Wars audience didn't like it for some pretty silly reasons that I disagree with, and Jake and I have talked about it multiple times, but...
wonders of Rian Johnson's completely failed reimagining of the Star Wars universe.
I don't understand the hate for the comedy milk scene, too. Like, yeah, yep. It doesn't surprise me that Luke is like a weirdo living out in the middle of nowhere after the stuff happened in that movie.
If you watch Captain Marvel and you're like, you know, this movie, it's not amazing, it's not like horrible, but it's not amazing, the media treated you as though you were a toxic fan.
Not necessarily. Someone like Jeremy is, because he very specifically doesn't like Brie Larson because of her comments on, like, feminism. But if you just don't like Captain Marvel, that's fine. No one cares.
If you looked at Ghostbusters, and it was female Ghostbusters, lady Ghostbusters, and you said, this movie just isn't very good, then the claim by the media was that you were a member of the toxic fandom.
What? No, if you were saying initially, like, I don't think this is a thing that should happen at all, sure, but once you see the movie, it's a pretty bad movie, so that's why people don't like it. That's fine.
Just didn't understand the depths of female woke Ghostbusters. Well, what are you to do? I mean, as a person who enjoys entertainment, what are you to do? We can yell at Netflix, we can yell at Apple TV, we can yell at ESPN, but most of us still subscribe to one of those services. Well, one thing that you've been doing is you've been tuning out. Many conservatives canceled their Netflix subscriptions over the Cuties controversy. Cuties of...
Let's see how that went. Netflix subscription numbers. Oh, look, it's higher than it was previously. I guess you didn't do anything. And I think Cuties is, like, stupid too, but, like, damn, guys. How'd that work out for you?
Of course, was a movie from France that seemed to glorify pedophilia. I mean, it had all of these kind of insanely graphic shots of young girls dancing in extraordinarily inappropriate ways. Hashtag cancel Netflix was in the top trending spot on Twitter on September 10th, the day after the release of the film. 2 days later, Netflix's cancellation rate in the United States jumped to nearly 8 times higher than the average daily levels recorded in August of 2020, reaching a multi-year high. A lot of people still are subscribing to Netflix, but a lot of people dropped Netflix.
It didn't matter to their analytics at all. I agree, Cuties is gross, but, like, you didn't really affect Netflix financially.
After Cuties. A lot of folks in the sports world have decided that they are no longer going to be participating in viewing sports. I'm one of those people. I'm a huge sports fan. But if you look at the numbers on ESPN since 2013...
Who does Chud Bingo? Mitchell Drummer.
They've declined markedly. People have been cutting the cord like crazy. I watch baseball, I watch basketball, I watch football. But this season, I didn't watch a minute of any of them because they decided in the middle of the Black Lives Matter protests to simply mirror a bunch of untruths about the United States and America's systemic racism. The idea was...
And Ben Shapiro definitely knows more about systematic racism than all the black people in the United States. Good job.
That if you didn't really want to see equality, throwing up an alley-oop for Black Lives Matter, that somehow you were a racist. They allowed all of these woke messages to take over the entire sport.
Woke messages like, please don't shoot us.
And corrupt the sports that you weren't actually watching sports, you were now watching MSNBC with a little bit of basketball in between. Forbes reported that NBA playoff ratings have been slipping as fans grumble. The league has become too political. The Miami Herald study reveals reasons for enormous drop in sports viewership, including political dynamic. They say 70% of Republicans said they are less likely to watch live sports because of athletes' calls for racial justice. Well,
wow, Republicans are shitty. Who knew?
No, it's not because of athletes' calls for racial justice. It's because athletes have been kneeling for the national anthem, suggesting that America is systemically racist and that all inequalities are chalked up to inequities, that the police are bad and racist across the board. Well, the reality is that the right, we can tune out, but it's not enough to tune out. We have to offer alternatives. The amount of time that people spend engaging with entertainment content on average dwarfs the amount of time they spend engaging with overtly political content. There's a reason that millions of people believe lies about conservatives. There's a reason millions of people believe lies about America. There's a reason that people look at you, if you don't like these movies, as though you're a bad person. They've been trained to do so by a culture that despises conservatives. You can see it in nearly every film.
I despise conservatives because conservatives are shitty. Because conservatives don't care about other people. Because they're selfish, narcissistic anger monsters who tend to be assholes. I don't hate conservatives because the media tells me to. I hate conservatives because you're assholes.
You can see it in virtually all TV. It is a blanket statement about you. Hollywood is. And they won't cater to you. Most obviously when they decided that Hillbilly Elegy was a terrible, terrible film because it took seriously the concerns of...
Didn't that get good reviews? Hold on. Got 6.7 on IMDb. Not great, but audience rating got 4.5. Pretty bad on Rotten Tomatoes. Let's take a look at the Rotten Tomatoes. I haven't seen Hillbilly Elegy, so I'm not familiar. Hillbilly Elegy is objectively terrible. Adams and Close deserve better than this relentlessly gloomy, often trite movie we all did. There's only a vague message about bootstraps and personal responsibility, and a whole lot of bad wigs. Okay, so it sounds like most people are critiquing and just saying it's like a technically bad film. Hillbilly Elegy communicates precious little about the culture it depicts and exploits with Oscar-baiting aspirations. It sounds like they just don't like the movie, not necessarily that they care that it's, like, about, you know, people who are Appalachian, like, white people. It sounds like they just thought the movie sucked.
Poor white people. So here's the thing. We need alternatives. It's not enough to just disengage. It's not enough to just turn off the TV. You need some place to go. The human brain wants narrative. The human brain wants to watch competition. We want engagement. And we need people who aren't political to engage with different sorts of content rather than disengaging entirely.
Who aren't political.
We need to give people a different option. And so here's what Daily Wire is planning. Daily Wire will, in 2021, be jumping into the world of entertainment content. We're going to start by putting our stamp on TV and movies. We're going to make edgy and entertaining films that aren't trying to brainwash you every step of the way. The entertainment content is going to range from comedies and dramas that take you seriously and don't take advantage of your viewership to promote leftist causes. Okay?
Instead, we're going to promote conservative values. It's almost like you're doing the same thing, but like explicitly and worse.
You're not going to be hit over the head with either right-wing or left-wing causes, the way that TV usually does.
Kinda doubt that.
The fact is that if you've watched even a single episode of SNL, it is basically just at this point Jacobin magazine with a couple of punchlines thrown in.
A conservative who became the voice of a generation.
Voice of generation, TBD.
With a powerful message.
Powerful message, TBD.
That's the man.
Saturday Night Live has made fun of every president since its inception.
And from long ago,
It helps when the president's a complete jackass, too.
who stood up to Donald Trump, looked just like him.
Head TBD. Close above head TBD.
It's time to blow up the Death Star that is the left-wing monopoly on entertainment and to provide a replacement for your bucks so that you're not paying the people who want to see your values disappear. We don't just want to be producing entertainment that caters to your values. We want it to be provocative. We want to compete for the most important audience in the entertainment sphere, young adults. The films are going to be gritty. They'll be violent. We plan to push the boundaries because guess what? That's what people watch. The vast majority of conservatives actually want to watch the same kind of stuff everybody else wants to watch. They just don't want to be insulted in the process. Well, we are going to be dedicated to making...
I don't want to be insulted by being told that women and black people should have rights, okay? I'm Ben fucking Shapiro. My wife is a doctor, damn it.
that kind of content. Our content may offend some of the people in our audience. We can't win the culture war if we're not competing for the people we are attempting to reach. It's not going to help to make a conservative more conservative. We need to make moderates more conservative. We need to take liberals, and we need to allow them to see a conservative point of view through a medium that is going to attract them and isn't going to repel them. Well, this Sunday, You can watch me talk about this with Dallas Saunier. He's producer of Run, Hide, Fight. He creates content from this point of view too. That's why we joined forces on Run, Hide, Fight. So I'm excited about 2021. I think you should be too. Conservatives getting into the entertainment space, it's something conservatives have talked about for a very, very long time. We've expended hundreds of millions of dollars on white papers from think tanks. We've expended billions of dollars on elections. But until we engage in the culture, we're just going to keep losing. My mentor, Andrew Breitbart, he used to say the culture is upstream of politics. If we never engage in the culture war, how do we expect to win the political wars? We are getting involved. We want you to be involved too. We need your help. This content is not exactly cheap to produce.
Aren't Ben Shapiro's parents, like, in the film industry?
We need your help to let the word out. Let people know that you enjoyed
That's how he grew up rich. They're, like, well off in the film industry or something, right?
Run, Hide, Fight, and that you want to get engaged with the culture. We plan to compete in every arena because the left has spent the last 50 years taking over nearly every institution in American life. The only way that we're going to be victorious is if we push back all at once in every perceivable area, and entertainment is just the first step. So we hope you'll join us over at dailywire.com and join the fight for the culture.
Okay, Run... Oh, well, I already Googled it, I guess. Let's,
So 12 rules.
Let's read a summary of the movie to see what it's about, okay? High school student Zoe Hull struggles to come to grips with the death of her mother, Jennifer, caused by her relationship with her father, Todd, to become strained. On the way to school, Zoe witnesses classmate Chris Jellick planting a strange device in a field, but writes it off as a prank. At school, Zoe's best friend, Lewis, attempts to ask her to prom, but it backfires and Zoe leaves for the bathroom when a drink is spilled on her. Around town, several incendiary devices are set off, distracting first responders and clogging up the roads. A van crashed into the school cafeteria carrying 4 school shooters. The leader, Tristan Voy, orders his accomplices, Chris Jellick, Anna Jellick, and Kip Quaid. Kip Quaid. Beautiful names. To begin killing students. Lewis, who has access to the school's Facebook page, is tasked with live streaming Tristan. Zoe crawls through the bathroom ceiling and is able to escape the school. She begins warning students and helping them escape. Tristan calls the front office to alert them of the shooting. Because school protocol requires that shootings to be confirmed, the school's principal and security guard are sent to the cafeteria to investigate. The principal attempts to talk Tristan down, blaming himself for Tristan's rage. However, Tristan admits his only motivation is to cause mayhem. Tristan kills the principal, but allows the unarmed security guard to escape. Commenting on how unprepared the guard was for an actual shooting with the situation finally confirmed, the front office calls a lockdown. We're not going to put messages in your face. We're just going to tell you that we should definitely have armed security guards in schools, and if you try and talk to children before they shoot a bunch of people, you're a libcuck and deserve to be shot. Sheriff Tarsi attempts to coordinate a response to the shooting, but it proves difficult. An explosion in the front office kills the first police officer to respond. Anna is sent to survey the damage, but along the way she encounters Zoe and is killed in the resulting fight. A police officer arrives at Tristan's home only to find that he has murdered his mother. The media picks up the live stream, much to Tristan's delight, and he begins removing students from their classrooms where they're sheltered in place. Kip encounters Zoe and chases after her, but he is quickly subdued. Handcuffed, Kip admits his motivation for the shooting was retaliation for a bullying incident that occurred in middle school. Zoe points out that Kip has murdered several innocent students who had nothing to do with the incident. Zoe contacts the sheriff and tells him that he needs to direct the media's cameras away from the school so that she can safely evacuate students. Sheriff Tarsi calls Tristan live on air to provide cover, but Tristan soon realizes the ruse. Tristan demands Zoe reveal herself to him, threatening to kill hostages every 5 minutes if she does not. Zoe returns to Kip, who expresses remorse for what he has done. A partial atonement for his crimes, Zoe has Kip ambush Tristan, and in the ensuing chaos, that leaves Kip dead and Lewis injured. Zoe escapes with Lewis. Zoe settles Lewis and reveals that she reciprocates his feelings for her, but that she has a hard time expressing them. Lewis warns her that the van in the cafeteria is filled with explosives. Chris is sent to kill Zoe, but he is instead killed by Todd, who has taken a sniping position outside the pool, right before Chris can execute her. Zoe hijacks the live stream, telling Tristan that she is the one people will remember, not him. Tristan rigs the van to explode and escape with a single hostage and an explosive. Zoe removes the van from the cafeteria by putting the shift in reverse and jamming the gas pedal with Chris's rifle. It explodes in the vacant parking lot. Zoe then tries to pursue Tristan but is mistakenly arrested by SWAT. Outside the school, Zoe meets Sheriff Tarsi, who thanks her for her actions and tells her Tristan died in an explosion. Zoe meets with her father, affirming their love and repairing their relationship. Afterwards, she sees Tristan fleeing into the woods, having faked his own death. Zoe retrieves her father's hunting rifle and shoots Tristan as he receives a cache of money and a passport. Standing over him, Zoe lets Tristan bleed out, telling him that it's what he deserves for what he's done. Yikes. This sounds, bad. Reception. Run, Hide, Fight received mostly negative reviews from the critics and has a score of 22% on Rotten Tomatoes based on 9 reviews with an average rating of 4.2 out of 10. The film also has a score of 13 out of 100 on Metacritic based on 6 critics indicating overwhelming dislike. The film was mainly criticized by critics for portraying controversial subject matter, being described as fundamentally tasteless by Jonathan Romney of Screen International. Critical review of the content of the film was mixed, with Romney praising the film for being undeniably polished and energetic and featuring strong performances from young stars in his review. Conversely, Gun Lodge of Variety compared the film to a cross between Elephant and The Hunger Games and criticizing the film for being merely pedestrian at the levels of direction, craft, and performance, and a grab for attention by peddling an ambiguous line on gun control and eye for an eye morality. David Rooney of The Hollywood Reporter said, but half-hearted posturing aside, this is Die Hard in a high school, with a 17-year-old female John McClane getting motivational input from her dead cancer mom as she dismantles the murderous plot using little more than gut instincts. David Ehrlich of IndieWire criticized director Rankin for several of the tropes he implemented, stating that the film is a glib, artless, reprehensibly stupid thriller that doesn't even have enough on its mind to be provocative. Robbie Collin of The Telegraph compared the ringleader of the school shooters to the Joker from The Dark Knight, and stated that May's performance feels as heroic as the character she's playing, but that the film makes no attempt to grapple with American school shooting as a nihilistic cultural phenomenon. Sounds terrible. So yeah, that's the movie Ben Shapiro's, company made. Sounds bad. Maybe we'll have to watch it sometime and do a review. That'd be fun. Not watch it on stream, obviously. Unless it's on Amazon and we can do a watch party, but, yeah. So, moving on.